With us today on Island Focus, I have the pleasure of talking with Ron Mizutani, who is the president and CEO of the Hawai'i Foodbank. So wonderful to see you, Ron. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Lila. It's great to see your smiling face as always.
At this most challenging, interesting, dramatic time, the food bank has stepped up and your leadership really has demonstrated resilience.
And that's been a word that we've all been using recently, but resilience is something that I really want to focus on, at least with our conversation now, but also in conversations with our team and with community. We need to start talking resilience, not minimizing what we're dealing with on a daily basis right now with numbers and all the health issues that a lot of families are facing and decisions that they're making, but we need to think post-COVID as well.
Can you give us a picture of where we were, where we are now, and definitely the lessons you've learned to take into the future?
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson I think we learned, Lila, is we need to be more resilient as a community. And we didn't realize, even our own organization, let alone the state, and even our own communities and families, well, first of all, we didn't know what COVID was going to do to us. No one prepared for COVID. I certainly did not. Our budget certainly did not prepare for a COVID response, but it's also taught us that we can do this, we can respond, and we can feed those families, some of them who've never raised their hands in their lives. And we can also assure folks that this infrastructure that we have at the food bank is very robust, and our partner agencies that help us distribute the food, they will respond in the biggest and most incredible crisis this world has ever faced. So the lessons at the end of the day, if I were to summarize it, is that we learned how strong Hawaii really is, and whether it be through responding through monetary donations, volunteering, and in my own team, Lila, I have to acknowledge that we may not be defined as first responders, but our team has been on the front line from day one. And they too know that they are exposing themselves and ultimately their families. Never once did they even hesitate. Everybody said, what do we need to do? And that resilience-minded focus is appreciated by me. I'm humbled to serve alongside them. I feel good about what tomorrow will look like, just based on the lessons we've already learned.
And you have a skill of bringing people together. You know, when we talk about food, it's not just what we import, which is 99% of what we use. It's also our local growers.
Yeah, one of the things that we did early in this pandemic, because of inventory shortages and the fragility of inventory because of that vast Pacific Ocean, is I called Brian Miyamoto at Hawaii Farm Bureau. I said, look, Brian, what do we need to do to keep our farmers farming? How can we keep our ranchers ranching? We set up this innovative initiative where Hawaii Food Bank actually purchased food from our farmers to keep them in business and keep the conversation going of how essential the farmers are and our ranchers. We even got involved with our Longline Association because our fisher community and industry needed assistance as well. So these innovative initiatives help start the conversation about really being resilient and self-sustaining. And this conversation needs to continue post-COVID, and decision makers need to understand the role. If we want to be truly resilient, we cannot rely on food 100% coming from the U.S. mainland. It's just not healthy and it's not safe. If we don't respond to that now, after learning the lessons learned now, shame on us.
Well, and what I hear you saying actually is the interaction and the interconnectedness of who we are is what sustains us. When we talk about resiliency, it's not just bouncing back, it's coming back even stronger.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, I once said we weren't prepared for COVID, but COVID wasn't prepared for Hawaii. And I don't mean that in a real cliche, a little spirit. I truly believe we have responded as a community. When you think about my annual budget, Lila, of purchasing food, because we're such a giving community, to match supply and demand on blue sky days where hunger is a crisis every day for many families. But with COVID, with this pandemic, that $400,000 budget, which was gone in seconds. Since March, when our first positive, we spent $4.8 million to purchase food just to match supply and demand. So how do you do that? We did it with community support, philanthropy, our foundations, believing in what we do, trusting in what we do. And really, it was just the community responding to our good work, but also saying, you know what, Hawaii Food Bank, we trust you to do the right thing. And again, we've seen people raise their hands that never thought they'd have to in their lives.
It must be very humbling also
For sure.
for you
For sure.
and for your staff to recognize that you're not only providing a service, but you're also helping the human spirit to believe they can go on.
Yeah, a meal will do that, Lila. A meal can provide hope and inspiration. And I also ask our volunteers, and I remind our own staff, do not judge. Hunger takes a tremendous amount of courage to raise your hand. It's one of those subjects that sometimes culturally or even we don't do that. If somebody comes in a Mercedes, a Tesla, which we've seen, do not judge. We don't know their story. Every vehicle has a story. Every family has a story. You may have two people working in the visitor industry. We don't know their story. Respect them, smile. They may not make eye contact. They may not even say thank you. But we know that there are needs, and they would not be in line if they had none.
Well, your story as the president and CEO of the Hawaii Food Bank for the last 2 years will definitely stay in our memories and our hearts. So thank you for joining us.
Lila, thank you very much for the opportunity, and stay safe and safe well.
Thank you. We've just had the pleasure of meeting Ron Mizutani, who is the president and CEO of the Hawaii Food Bank. Thank you for joining us.